The FBI just raided Georgia's election office. Armed agents seized documents and computers in Fulton County, the same county Trump claims stole the 2020 election from him. Democrats are calling this a chilling attack on democracy itself. Republicans say it's long overdue accountability for election irregularities. This isn't a routine audit. This is federal law enforcement treating election officials like criminal suspects. Today, Sophia and Liam battle. Is this legitimate election integrity investigation or political revenge disguised as justice? And we need your take on this because honestly, there's no safe middle ground here. Either you believe Trump's election fraud claims justify FBI raids, or you believe this is weaponization of justice. So don't hold back in the comments. Which side are you on? Here's what happened. FBI agents executed search warrants at Fulton County's election headquarters Wednesday morning. They seized computers, documents, and communications related to the 2020 presidential election. The raid comes after the Justice Department sued Fulton County last month, demanding records Trump's team claims will prove election fraud. County officials had been cooperating with subpoenas, but apparently not fast enough for DOJ. But here's the shocking part you'll learn by the end. This isn't happening in isolation. It's the third FBI raid on Democratic-controlled election offices in the past 2 months. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and now Georgia, all swing states Biden won in 2020, are under federal investigation. Trump has publicly demanded prosecution of election officials he claims rigged the election against him. The FBI says this is standard law enforcement responding to evidence of potential federal crimes. Democrats say this is the playbook of authoritarian regimes, using federal police to intimidate political opponents and election officials. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican who certified Biden's win despite Trump's pressure, called the raid troubling. But Trump posted on Truth Social, "Finally, the real criminals are being held accountable." So is this justice or just revenge?
This is textbook authoritarianism. You raid election offices when you're trying to intimidate people who run elections. That's what's happening here. Let's be absolutely clear. Joe Biden won the 2020 election. This has been proven in over 60 court cases, multiple audits, recounts, and investigations. Even Trump's own Attorney General Bill Barr said there was no fraud that would change the outcome. Georgia certified its results twice. Biden won by 11,779 votes. That's reality. Now Trump is president again, and suddenly the FBI is raiding election offices in states he lost? That's not coincidence. That's retaliation. The message to election officials is clear. If you certify results Republicans don't like, federal agents will treat you like criminals. And this destroys trust in elections. If half the country believes Trump when he says elections are rigged, and the other half sees FBI raids as political persecution, who trusts election results anymore? Democracy requires losers to accept outcomes. Trump won't. And now he's using the FBI to punish people who told him he lost. That's how democracies die.
Sophia just wants you to ignore legitimate questions because she doesn't like who's asking them. But election integrity matters regardless of who wins. Georgia had serious irregularities in 2020. Ballots were counted multiple times. Chain of custody documentation was incomplete. Poll watchers were blocked from observing counting. These aren't conspiracy theories. Georgia's own audit found problems. Whether those problems change the outcome is exactly what this investigation should determine. The FBI isn't raiding because Trump asked nicely. They're raiding because Fulton County refused to comply with federal subpoenas. When you destroy or withhold documents the Justice Department lawfully requests, you invite search warrants. That's not authoritarianism, that's law enforcement, and Democrats have zero credibility on this. They cheered when FBI raided Mar-a-Lago over classified documents. They demanded investigations of Trump's election challenges. Now suddenly FBI raids are authoritarian when they investigate Democrats? That's pure hypocrisy. If election officials have nothing to hide, why resist transparency? Let investigators see the records, prove everything was legitimate, and move on. Unless there's something they don't want found.
They certified the results. Multiple Republican officials confirmed Biden won. You're criminalizing people for doing their jobs.
Certifying doesn't mean investigating irregularities is illegitimate. If processes were followed improperly, that matters even if the outcome doesn't change.
This is selective prosecution. Trump tried to overturn the election. He should be investigated, not the people who stopped him.
Trump is being prosecuted in multiple jurisdictions, but that doesn't mean election officials get immunity from scrutiny of their conduct.
So we've got FBI agents raiding election offices, both sides accusing the other of destroying democracy, and nobody agreeing on basic facts about 2020. But here's what neither side wants to address. Even if you believe this investigation is legitimate, the precedent is catastrophic. Before we explore why, I need to know where you stand. SOPHIA, blue symbol. This is political revenge. Threat to democracy. Liam, red symbol. This is legitimate investigation. Accountability matters. Your vote determines whether we accept weaponized justice or defend election integrity. Now, let's examine what's really at stake.
Let me explain why this isn't about legitimate questions. It's about criminalizing election administration. First, every single allegation Liam mentioned was investigated and debunked. Georgia did hand recounts. They audited signatures. They examined chain of custody. Republican Secretary of State Raffensperger, who Trump pressured to find 11,780 votes, confirmed the election was fair. The DOJ, under Trump's own Attorney General, investigated and found nothing. Courts rejected every fraud claim. Second, this raid is based on the same debunked claims. The Justice Department lawsuit demanding records cites irregularities that were already investigated and explained. They're not looking for new evidence. They're relitigating settled questions, hoping for different answers. Third, the timing reveals the political motivation. Why raid now for years later? Because Trump's back in power and wants revenge. This isn't about 2020, it's about 2024 and 2028. Intimidate election officials now so they're afraid to certify results Trump doesn't like in future elections. The precedent is terrifying. Lose an election, claim fraud, use federal law enforcement to investigate your opponents. That's not democracy.
SOPHIA's entire argument depends on you accepting that investigations were thorough and complete. They weren't a Georgia's audit was limited in scope. It didn't examine signature verification adequately, didn't fully investigate ballot chain of custody issues, and was conducted under political pressure to certify quickly. Multiple whistleblowers came forward with concerns that weren't fully investigated. And here's what SOPHIA ignores. The FBI doesn't raid unless there's probable cause of federal crimes. A federal judge signed off on these search warrants. That means prosecutors presented evidence convincing a judge that crimes may have occurred and that Fulton County might destroy evidence if just asked for it. Maybe that evidence will prove Trump right. Maybe it'll prove him wrong. But we won't know unless investigators can examine the full record. Democrats blocking that investigation is exactly what guilty people do. And SOPHIA's authoritarianism claim is absurd. Trump was investigated by the FBI for 4 years. Mueller investigation, classified documents, January 6th. Democrats cheered every investigation. Equal application of law isn't authoritarianism. Selective immunity for Democrats is.
Trump tried to overturn the election. He called Raffensperger demanding he fabricate votes. That's the crime, not certifying accurate results.
Trump questioning results isn't illegal. Al Gore contested 2000 for weeks. Hillary claimed 2016 was stolen. Democrats contested Trump electors in 2017.
And there's the impossible question. Can questioning elections be legitimate, or does it always threaten democracy? Are investigations political weapons or necessary accountability? But here's that uncomfortable truth. Both parties have weaponized election investigations when convenient. Democrats demanded investigations of Russian interference in 2016 and contested Trump's legitimacy for years. Republicans now demand investigations of 2020 and contest Biden's legitimacy. Both sides investigate when they lose and resist investigation when they win. The real danger isn't that one side is right and the other wrong. It's that we've entered a cycle where every close election triggers years of investigation, litigation, and mutual accusations of fraud. The losing party claims the system is rigged. The winning party claims investigations are coups. Trust in elections collapses. This creates asymmetric risks. If you investigate aggressively, you risk weaponizing justice and intimidating election officials. If you don't investigate concerns, you risk missing real problems and fueling conspiracy theories. There's no safe choice. The Georgia raid forces a question Americans haven't answered. Do we trust institutions to investigate themselves? Or do we empower outside investigators who might have political motivations? Georgia officials say they investigated thoroughly. Trump supporters say they investigated themselves and found nothing wrong. Who investigates the investigators? Both options are dangerous. Self-investigation invites cover-ups. Outside investigation invites political persecution. We're stuck between trusting potentially compromised institutions or empowering potentially weaponized enforcement. And this connects directly to institutional independence. While we're debating whether the FBI is protecting or attacking democracy, the Supreme Court is deciding whether Trump can fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, whether political leaders can control supposedly independent institutions, that if Trump can fire the Fed chair for political reasons, can he also direct FBI investigations for political reasons? If independent institutions become political tools, do any checks on power remain? That's not hypothetical. It's happening right now. The Federal Reserve case determines whether institutional independence survives or whether political control becomes the new normal. Should Trump control interest rates and criminal investigations? That's the choice. Watch that case next to understand how institutional independence protects, or fails to protect, democracy itself.